What's up, everybody? We are back. John De La Rose here, the leading Hispanic voice in science fiction, coming at you with a surprise review. Surprise because I wasn't expecting to read this. I was just hanging out with my son. My son was reading this book, and I opened it up just to see what was going on in there, and I plowed through it pretty quick because Jeph Loeb's writing really lends itself to just speed reading, which is interesting. So I got through this pretty fast, which is a good sign for the pacing right away, as far as a modern book goes. I never read much of this stuff. I'm not like a huge fan of what goes on from, I'd say, Onslaught, whenever that happened, to current. And so I just have a smattering of what I've read. I don't know what's going on at the Hulk at this point. Obviously, it started with an all-new #1. And you need quite a bit of Hulk knowledge to really enjoy this. My son actually said he was a little confused in the middle parts, and I'll get to that when I get to those parts of the book. But it covers the 2008 run of Hulk 1 through 24, King Size Hulk, Fall of the Hulk Gamma, Hulk Size Mini Hulks, and material from Incredible Hulk 600, and Wolverine #50. So we found this. It's a very weird starting point, but since I've read enough of Peter David's Hulk and Stan Lee's Hulk and Bill Mantlow's Hulk from back in the day, I have a close enough of an idea of what's going on and know who all the characters are at first. It starts off with the Abomination, and what's weird about this volume is you don't see a lot of Hulk. I mean, there's a lot of people tracking down the Hulk, but the Hulk's kind of like a side character, not really the main character. Like, everything's going on around him, but it really follows other characters other than the Hulk's. And we see this image of the Hulk shooting the Abomination, which is weird, which is somebody's flashback memory, and we find out that it's actually kind of a wrong memory later. As She-Hulk grabs this group to kind of track down the Hulk, and it goes from there. We get some Iron Man. Like I said, it doesn't really focus on the Hulk so much, and then we find out there's this Red Hulk running around. He's the guy who did that. We don't know who he is. That's the mystery of the book, and it actually keeps the mystery going for a long time, and I kind of don't like the way that resolves. I'll get into that later also. Abomination is there, or A-Bomb, which is really Rick Jones, and then the actual Hulk shows up to fight this Hulk. They're running around like San Francisco and Arizona, so it's really disjointed, and that's, I guess, a critique of the writing I could have here, that is just like, they're all over the map, and you don't really see them move from one place to another very easily. You just are kind of like, how'd they get there? And they're there. However, that said, we get some flashbacks here. Very fun. I like the art, and like I said, the pacing's really good. We get a appearance by Scotty Young in here, who does a Dark Horse book, and why am I blanking on the name? I'm blanking on the name though, but he's got his own book, and it's like a superhero book where it's like really cheesecakey, and he's got this superhero who just gets beat up and all of her clothes fall off, and he draws Miss Marvel very similar to that. I mean, you see the cheesecake there, but I actually enjoy it. I think it's actually works pretty well in this instance, and I'd like to see more of it actually. And I like the way he draws the Hulk also. So, very nice fill-in artist for a few issues here, as there's this Wendigo storyline where the Hulk fights the Wendigo. The Red Hulk almost kills She-Hulk and freaks her out. She-Hulk forms a team of people to track down the Red Hulk. And the mystery is, who's the Red Hulk and how do we find him while the other Hulk's doing his thing, helping the heroes. We get a little Wolverine Hulk fight because that's always a classic thing to do. And we have these little interludes where it's Audrey Loeb, who does these like little cute little cartoons where it's Green Hulk, Red Hulk, and Blue Hulk, and they just do cute things. And there's a few of them in here, and I assume they're backups from the issues. They actually did their own special, which is at the end, and there's like 30 pages worth of it. Very fun. They're one-page little gag strips, and my son really enjoyed these especially, which I appreciated. And yeah, it just continues on this path where we're trying to figure out who the Red Hulk is. The Red Hulk fights people, and then we get a diversion. And this is what bothers me about the story. It's like we're doing that Red Hulk storyline, and then suddenly there's like this like cosmic storyline in the middle of it where it's like the Defenders get together, who are Silver Surfer, Doctor Strange. And I had to explain to my son, like, there's a history element of this, that you have to know who the Defenders are in order to really understand what's going on, because he was like, I'm lost. Why are all these people getting together and fighting and all this stuff? And I'm like, that's the deal. And the Red Hulk then forms the Offenders, which is kind of cute. And they fight in this cosmic battle on behalf of kind of these cosmic guys who are doing a wager. And it seems like a weird diversion from the main storyline, and it is. So we get back to Banner a little bit, who at some point loses his Hulk powers completely. The Red Hulk is the only Hulk at this point. And then it gets back to the storyline again. It just like jumps, and it's kind of weird. And these jumps are really disjointed. But once it gets into those portion of the storyline, it feels a little better. But Red Hulk's being tracked down by X-Force, and there's like another group trying to hunt him down. And then we get into a little bit of the backstory, which gets like teased in here. And then it turns out there's a Red Hulk woman here too. So, and she's weird and creepy, and they just fight, and there's lots of betrayals and twists. And it turns out the Hulk was like working for MODOK or something, and or the Red Hulk was. And then this other woman, she's a mystery also. We don't know who they are at this point. And then we get this, like, again, weird side thing where it doesn't really tie in, where it goes into Doc Samson in a therapy session. And this part, like, I kind of get annoyed that my kid was reading this, because there's like this weird thing where he says it's like sex fighting the Hulk. Oh. And that's like, what? And then he has another line where he's like, but there's nothing homoerotic about it. It's like, why are you putting that into a kid's book? I mean, this is not a Max Marvel line. This is like the Hulk. So editors should have got that and not done that. I mean, it's really like, come on. You don't need to do that in a comic. And it's annoying. And so, unfortunately, my kid has not gotten to that part yet. So I don't think, I don't know if I'll let him continue reading this. Just because of that scene, I don't want to deal with that, let him have his innocence. I mean, geez. Okay, maybe in a couple years. But more of this, more of the awesome little cartoon strips. I like these. These are very appropriate for kids. Very nice. But again, these are paired with those other books. So it's like, if you're gonna do a nice little fun thing appropriate for kids, and you pair it with that like weird psychiatry sex talk, like, I mean, it just doesn't work well as a book together. And like I said, editors really should have got that. I mean, I don't know what Marvel was thinking here. This is why we had the Comics Code, folk, and as much as everybody complains about it, it was kind of a good thing at the end of the day. And the companies are worse off for it. So we get a little switch in art. We get some John Romita art as we get some backstory of the Hulk kind of retold again. And we find out that MODOK is like making all this go. And then we learn that General Ross has been killed. Again, this was like a backstory. He got killed. And it was like, oh, General Ross is dead. And we weren't told why. Now I get storytelling-wise of the whole arc, why it was done this way in some sort of way. Because it's supposed to make us feel off about it, like there's something wrong with this. And the big reveal is that the Red Hulk is General Ross. Spoilers. So this was apparently like a fake funeral and all that. But at the time, like, I mean, they really don't go into that for like 4 or 5 issues. So it seems to be like a deflection sort of thing where they really don't set it up well enough that there's like not enough clues dropped that like this is fake or there's some other thing. They just say that, MODOK had some robots of people later on, and that describes it. And I really hate those kinds of twists in comics, because they're not really twists. It's like, oh, we've been in the Red Hulk's perspective, and so we get his dialogue boxes, his thoughts, and like they just intentionally withhold the name. And then they show us that the guy who he actually is dead. So any logical person has to go, this can't be General Ross. And so, it's insulting the reader almost, right? It's playing with our intelligence, saying, haha, we tricked you. And if they played it right, and played it straight from the characters' perspectives and from the perspectives done in this book, they would have never actually had that reveal. Now, it ends up MODOK and the leader and a couple others are kidnapping the world's smartest people and like draining their intelligences. and Banner and Red Hulk have to work together and form a team to go and stop them at this point. Again, this is just disjointed, and so we had that first storyline where it's like, who's the Red Hulk? Banner's fighting him. Gets disjointed with this like Defender storyline, which is a nice story. And contained by themselves, they're actually nicely done. Each page is paced well. The art's really nice. It's just, as a whole, like, it's like there's the start and stops, and then there's like, they didn't bridge them very well. So you just get lost for a few pages, and then you're like, did any of this actually happen? I don't remember any of this happening. And some of it's, false memories and false things planted. So it's really, as a whole, it's tough as a reader. But individually, once you get back to the storylines flow very nicely. And, there's this machine Hulk he ends up fighting, and it continues for a while, builds up, and eventually Red Hulk and Banner team up to stop the bad guys. Red Hulk looks like he's going to try to take over the United States, and he gets stopped, and the Green Hulk fights him and wins. Yeah, and a very nice splash page to end it. I mean, this is pretty art, and it's cool. And it does resolve the storyline. Red Hulk gets put into a S.H.I.E.L.D. prison, and then Banner and Captain America come to him. And apparently he joins the Avengers and all that later. I kind of read a little bit about it, but this was apparently just to set him up as a character and all that. Very interesting. Interesting character. It is General Ross, yay. But again, like, the fact that they, like, go into Hulk's perspective in his dialogue, they go and they just hid the information from us and just totally showed us something that was false and then said, this is why it was false later. It's not a very good twist. It's just kind of like, that wasn't fun to read. Thanks. So, if you're going to do those types of twists, you really have to make sure the perspective, I would keep it in like Banner's perspective or something like that, so that Banner doesn't know. And then Banner gets surprised, and then you're not feeling like you're tricked as the reader, and you're not feeling like you're being insulted as the reader. So that's what I got for this. Again, we got at like 30 pages of these cool little Hulk things. This is super fun. Love this stuff. I could do with more of that. And they did a whole goodbye, and thanked all the artists involved. It was very cute. And a cover gallery in the back. And I generally don't care about cover galleries or sketches or things like that. Some nice covers, of course. And we get some sketchbooks, etc. to go through the story. All right, so that's the whole book. Overall, I mean, like I said, it was a fast read. The positives are it's a fast read. So I got to just plow through this. It took me like 2 days to read, it just in a couple spots here and there. And it's pretty big omnibus. You get your value's worth. The negatives is, again, the twist just kind of like it's a trickery against the audience. It's not actually set up very well. And I think they tried too hard for that twist. And they probably should have just revealed who General Ross was 6 issues earlier, and then it would have been more interesting because you would have seen the conflict between General Ross and Banner for what it is, and that as that storyline was developing, and that would have just flowed a little better. The next complaint is that the stories don't flow well together. There's like 4 parts to it, and each one of those is distinct and separate, and they really start you in the middle of it, so you're not, you kind of get disjointed at the beginning of each of those story arcs. And you have to have a lot of Hulk knowledge of who these characters are, or the storyline really doesn't work. I mean, you better know who General Ross and Betty and Samson, Abomination, Rick Jones, and then there's a bunch of Marvel Universe people who tie into it also. It's like you have to have a ton of knowledge. This is not a good new reader spot whatsoever. They didn't play with that adage where it's like, hey, every comic's somebody's first comic, so you better take note of it. Now, my son says he's enjoying it. He says it's fun, but he also says he gets confused with it. And as he's not read as much of the Marvel Universe as I am, that's why it makes sense. I have to explain it to him when that happens. That one issue was the only non-kid-friendly part, except for the violence, of course. But I don't know. Boys love violence, so what can you do about that? Overall, I didn't hate it. I know I've been ragging on the twist and those sort of plot points quite a bit. But if you have a ton of knowledge of the Marvel Universe, I mean, there's a lot of, on the other end, there's a lot of Easter eggs for you. And like I said, at the end of the day, like, it sets up an interesting character. The pacing within the storylines is actually pretty fast paced and fun to read. You can skim this and go pretty quick, which is kind of nice for a comic. So it's got its pluses, it's got its minuses. I like the art, especially the Scotty Young parts of this. So that's a lot of fun. What do I gotta say other than that? I'm trying to think of like a score out of 10 on this, and it's kind of hard because there's parts I really like and there's parts I really don't like. So I'd say maybe a 6.5 overall. It's a little less than average, but I'm not sad that I read it. So that's it, and that's the Omnibus, Hulk by Jeph Loeb and Ed McGuiness. I read this entire Omnibus, and hope you enjoyed this review. It came out in 2019 and is in print, so it should be pretty easy to find if you're interested. Hit that like and subscribe button if you like my reviews and like my commentary on books. And of course, check out my books, John Delarose. A lot of them are on Amazon, and my new Dynamite Thor will be coming to Kickstarter in February. See you.